make it official. We will, now proceed with the budget hearings. November 29th, 2021. Jeff, is there anything on here that we haven't already got submitted that we need to be aware of? That's not on the paperwork you have in front of us.
I don't know of any changes at all, of anything that has already been discussed and worked through.
Have you, the only thing I know of was a topic about the body cameras,
Right.
and that's the only new thing I know about, that these numbers won't be reflected in here with.
That is correct.
So we can run those either under a capital, but we'd still need to be aware of it so we can add it to capital.
Right.
And the board may have questions just because they know nothing about this, so you
Right.
may want to update them on what you're looking at right there.
So in 2017, when the sheriff came in, we decided to go with the national company, Axon body cams. And that's, all of our law enforcement officers wear body cams, okay? It's the one that they have cloud storage, off-site. I mean, anything you see on TV that shows law enforcement footage, you see that word Axon on the bottom. It's the industry standard. Okay, so we changed to that 100%, not because it's so good, but because what we had was so bad. We just didn't have cameras that worked. So we changed to that and signed a 5-year contract. It's been 5 years, basically. That contract is expiring. Of course, with everything that's going up, we were paying about $10,000 roughly a year. That was already in capital expenditures. It is actually, I've got it set where this budget is still gonna be a little less than 10,000. Unfortunately, going next year after next, it's going up to 36,000. It's that type of increase. But what that does is actually, I know that's a huge jump, but what that does is it changes our rate on the storage because of the data, because we have all these years of data. Law says that if we operate it, we have to have a certain category for each type of call for how many years that we have retention, because there's retention laws on this stuff. So when we started doing all this, the district attorney will 100% jump up and down if we decide we're not gonna have this anymore. I mean, because honestly, they make the cases. I mean, the body cams makes the case, period. What the $36,000 does is it changes to today's technology. We have 5-year-old technology. Today's technology is called an Axon Body Cam 3. That particular body cam, if my deputy keys up and they say, hey, I'm in a car chase, I'm in a foot chase, if my dispatchers cannot get a hold of them, the sheriff, myself, 5 users in the sheriff's office can click a button on our desktop and their body cam is activated. We see it live. It's live video. We see exactly what's going on. It also gives me pinpoint GPS location where they are. So once they leave their car, which has the GPS in the car, once they leave it, we were never able to find my deputy at times. If they're in the middle of the woods, they're beaten, whatever the case is, as long as this body camera is on, I've got a GPS location. So technology is like advanced. By upgrading that particular 5-year contract, the total of it is $152,000, okay? It changes because that in that 5 years, if my deputy loses it, they tear it up, they break it, they replace it free of charge. Anything happens, they just send me a new equipment. What we're able to do is take our body cameras that are technically functional, we're actually reassessing them and actually putting them in the jail. So the jailers are gonna be able to wear that body cam. And gonna be pretty good there too. So,
Sorry, y'all.
glad you could join us.
I know, I'm sorry, we had a call out, so I've been on the ambulance today.
So basically, in order, because this contract hit us like mid-stride of budgeting, I said, look, I only have $10,000 allotted, and we'd already worked that out, this budget. They said, okay, so that number is skewed, it sounds high, but it changed the last 4 years of the contract. Because instead of breaking down 152 times, by 5, they kinda gave me $10,000 for next year, and then 4 years would be the remaining balance, roughly.
Quick question, is your retention 6 years across the board?
It's not across the board. It is, if there's anything that is aggravated assault, murder, even down to a burglary, we have to keep it a year after the case is dissolved.
Okay.
Okay, so potentially a murder is lifetime, because even though they may be found guilty, it's gonna be, fortunately, we don't have a lot of those, so, majority of our retention periods are gonna be 3 to 5 years. And a lot of it is depending on the DA getting it into court, getting it processed, so.
Help me understand one thing, and only because I know a little bit about what we're talking about. We're gonna use the old body cameras to go into jail, follow that
Right.
perfectly. Does that contract, because we're gonna be using them in jail, is it gonna extend
So
to we'll still be
what,
paying for that contract also?
no, so what happens with that, we dissolve that, and under the original cameras, we actually had a good thing, IT, Thomas put in a 17 terabyte hard drive system. So we've got the storage on site.
Okay,
So they're just going to change those cameras, instead of going automatically to upload and more data, they're gonna automatically go to that storage drive that we have on site. So it's gonna be handled internal, instead of paying off-site storage. So
and you'll be able to delete that?
we'll be able to
because if
control it
nothing happens,
100%. Yeah,
So what you're referring to is the old ones are awash, we're looking at a new set of cameras, keep the
100%.
old ones out of mind, and that contract is what per year?
I wish I brought it. It's a total of 152,000, I think,
About
300,
five?
for 5 years, yeah, divided by 5, basically.
Any upfront cost?
That's total cost, that's it.
So you're actually not asking for 152, you're asking for the fifth of that.
So the way they've got it figured is $10,000 roughly for the first year, because I told them, hey, that's where I'm budgeted, and that's what we were at. So let's roll that $10,000 off of it, there'll be a remaining balance of $142,000 for 4 years after that. So divide that,
Yeah, that's 35,000.
yeah. So
Is
it's
it
almost
any-
36.
Is it any cheaper, because I know you've done this in the past, and I know Bobby has, is to pay it off up front? You get that one-time buy-in,
Same fee.
no difference?
No
Okay,
difference.
perfect.
Is the storage fee separate in addition, or is that?
That factors in the storage data. If we come in less, it will be less. However, if it comes in more than what's allotted, what I did is I looked, okay, we got 5 years worth of data, and we're roughly this amount of call volume. This 5 years worth of data, I said, look at where we are for storage. I said, in 5 years, if we kind of the same, what's that gonna do? So she drastically increased the amount of storage for offsite. So, yeah, that was all negotiated in the contract as well.
So that total price will include the storage, it's your best guess that you feel like will cover all your needs?
What we're currently doing this 5 years plus a little bump, just in case.
Yeah, the last year will be the determining year, though, it'll be either up or down that year.
Well, you figured, when we took office, we had, let me see, RNs a month, like 100, and all that 200,
Yeah.
and now you're bumping close to 300. That's just the case numbers, not even, that's not the calls.
So incident reports, when we first took office, was about an average of 206. We just pulled case number 259. So just for incident reports, accidents was roughly 203, we just pulled number 221. So it's a little bit of increase, about 15% increase, maybe, so.
And does this cover the storage, let's say at the end of 5 years, you decide you want to go with somebody else? Does that maintain your storage on those instances that occurred the last year that you still got to have that information for 5 years after that?
If, I would honestly say that if we decided to go with somebody else, we'd probably be in trouble. I'd have to figure out how they could download that into our 17 terabytes of storage space there.
And see, we run into the same problem when we changed over from, Eagle to
Yeah, from the Interop.
Denrock that was used past administration, which was terrible. We went back to Eagle, so we still had, we was paying them because we had the whole storage was there.
So y'all got away from Eagle?
No,
We got away from Interop.
We got away from Denrock.
Yes, okay.
No, yeah,
So,
we used to make a Eagle.
Bottom line is, over 5 years, looking at what your budget is right now, you're looking at a 1.25% increase
Sure.
over the total budget, but then you turn around, you're gonna utilize the equipment now you've got in the jail, which we don't have.
Correct.
So, at the end of the day, it's something less than that because we're getting a service that we don't have in place, which
Correct.
provides basically insurance for the
That's
county.
the biggest thing.
It does 100%. It does. I like it.
Yeah.
I can figure numbers like that.
There you go. So like Mark, he been hanging out with Mark Perry, start rattling the numbers off like that.
No, that's what cell phones for.
Hey,
But see, that's where you need to go with the insurance man and say, hey, look what we doing.
yep.
Well,
And you just think the same thing, that we'll have a lower interest rate, insurance rate in the jail, and everything will be on camera now.
From a budgeting standpoint though, I wouldn't necessarily put it under jail or sheriff, because then it'd be better to go under capital and have it a guaranteed every year set amount. Because if somebody decides to pull a sheriff budget, they see an inflated number, they don't realize there's other things coming out of it as equipment. There's-
But it's not, it's a service-based subscription, that's what Axon is selling, you're not, I mean, that equipment is no good unless you're providing that service, so it's, I mean, and their offline storage is, and they basically bounce data from one service hub to another, that's how they claim it's in the cloud.
Gotcha.
So it's, I mean, it's a service-based subscription.
So
not
you would put it
necessarily-
under the jail or sheriff one?
I would put it under the appropriate department,
Okay.
I mean, that,
It's not a capital outlay.
it's not a capital outlay that becomes an asset of the county.
Well, one of the things that, if you look through here, it normally gets lumped into IT.
And that's where it currently is. under
Yeah,
IT.
and it's really, IT is very convoluted in here because IT is made up of a lot of what you just said. And it really needs to be broke out. So, I mean, I agree with you 100% on putting it there. I just didn't know how we need to really clean that other one up too at some point. Sounds great.
The ones, the body cams you've got, they, if I remember right, the Axon ones, they don't have an LED screen on the camera itself.
They do not.
On the, yeah.
It's pretty much just a camera and a very large button to cut it on and off.
Yeah.
That button, kind of turns red when it's in record mode, so the deputies can see it, it'll flash, so.
I can't remember the model that I've helped facilitate in the past with other sheriffs and actual jail staff, but it, and I'm not saying we go out and buy them, but it was neat because there was like a little camera, there was a little viewing screen.
Right,
So when you got in front of the inmate, they all of a sudden go,
yeah,
that's me?
yeah.
Yeah, so you better behave.
There's different models, there's different options out there. One thing I do like about it is, everybody has a smartphone. That particular one downloads their app. When you put it on an app, man, it's like right there. They can scroll through their videos and categorize them for retention law just real quick. I mean, it's something that's very user-friendly, so even Michael could do it, maybe.
It was really good, cause when I get all these complaints, I go, and I'll tell them.
Yeah.
I ain't even seen the video, and I'll tell them. I'll tell them, just come down here, we'll pull it up, and we'll watch it together. I'm not gonna watch it till you come in.
Yeah.
And once you tell them it's on body cam, because it's a family member who wasn't even there, it's the problem.
Sure.
Who really ain't none of their business, but I tell them, come and watch it, we'll watch it together. I'll watch it for the first time. They don't show up.
I had a local pastor do just that. They called up and said, hey, we got a problem with your deputy, the way they talk to. I to, this citizen. I said, okay. Sat down with the pastor and I said, hey, let's watch it. We watched that video and he literally stood up, took his hat off and shook my hand and said, I wasted your time. I'm fixing to go speak to this citizen and it may not be holy when I talk to him, so, yeah.
I've done it countless times.
Yeah.
Before we go any further, Jeff Vaughn,
Oh, yeah.
Chief Deputy,
Sorry?
Frank May,
Sorry?
Sheriff Michael Moore, Zach Mitchell for the newspaper, and Bobby Smith behind him. And Kathy Pettigrew, our finance young lady. So just so Frank's up to speed on who's
Sorry.
hearing from him. No problem. I assumed, but I shouldn't have. All right, under,
The classic, walk me through the protocol just for clarity. So the deputy is classifying each incident and somebody in command staff's reviewing it to confirm.
So, 100%. So, when they write a report, their incident report should correlate to the category that I actually created. I've got maybe 25 different categories. In every category, it has a retention based on law, okay? So, if it's a burglary, obviously, that's gonna be a criminal investigation. So that criminal investigation is categorized and they pull it over there, that retention for 4 years. And always before it goes to court, Mr. Rucker will come from the DA's office and pull those body cams. And, I mean, that's normal everyday business. So the DA will have that body cam on disc, and so that's when the courts, of course, will have it. The defense attorney will have it, So yes, the deputies actually, when they get done writing their incident report, when they get recording, they have to sit there and categorize each video that they've had. So if they've had 15 or 20 calls, they'll go back and add a case number to that video and the appropriate category. So,
How about moving into the jail? You're gonna create a different, because some of those are just interactions and to manage your database.
We've actually sat down and talked about that a little bit. What I'm thinking is, if there is a use of force, they already have the policy, they write the use of force report, okay? Once that's generated, we'll be able to categorize that use of force report. I'm actually gonna carry it a step further. When that report is generated, we're actually gonna go ahead and burn a separate hard copy on disk and put it in that file as well. So just in case we have that terabyte hard drive crash, we've got that use of force in video. I mean, it's gonna be, it might be a little bit of a, overkill, but I like that extra hard copy in hand, so yeah, we've talked about that.
didn't you just have an incident in jail?
Unfortunately,
Yeah, obviously it's unfortunate, but this would have helped probably for the DA to review
I think so.
this camera footage against that particular person.
Yeah. So right now, we've got really outdated camera system. It was installed in 2003 when the jail was built. The audio used to be very precise. I mean, you could whisper, and when I worked there as a jailer in 03, you could whisper and you could go in and watch that video and you could cut that volume up, you'd hear everything. Now it's, if you're familiar with what's called white noise, now it's just static. I mean, it's rough, it's garbage. It's just old and outdated. These body cams are gonna be our answer. We looked at replacing the audio system, and Thomas has looked at it, and we're looking at 25, 30 grand. So these cameras are gonna be a big help
On the jail side.
on the jail side. Yeah. Yeah.
Quick question, your upload speed, now that we've got that fiber tied in over there, what was your upload speed before? Because this is where it really comes in, and that people don't understand the internet very well until you get into a jail,
I get it.
trying to load those body cameras every night or every morning.
And
So
to be
why?
honest, it's hard to answer that because we have a policy that they have to come in and upload their body cam, sits in a cradle, and they have to do it at least once every 2 weeks. So that's our written policy. I mean, we're like big on these body cams. So if the deputy waits 2 weeks before they upload it, they may go without their body cam for an hour and a half. So that's how long it was taking.
They're
But
just
that-
sitting there then
So
waiting.
you're sitting there twiddling your thumbs, so, you know, what they will do is at the end of the shift, everybody's got their badge number on the back of their camera, they'd put it in the cradle, and they would leave and go home and pick it up the next morning. And that's basically the way they're doing it.
The only reason I'd ask that is because there's gonna be a topic later tonight's meeting, and we were discussing the new internet speeds that we have now with this loop. An hour and a half long movie, to upload a movie,
Mm-hmm.
takes an hour and a half, and now it's taking 15 minutes to upload. It's so
Right.
much faster,
Yeah.
and I didn't know how that was gonna, how
Yeah.
much y'all seen of it.
I would see that it would, I mean, just increase it a lot, I mean, you would think, just common sense, so.
Right. Any other questions regarding Department 50?
Did the change you made in your wages last year, did it help your staffing?
Initially, yes, it did. I actually got with HR this morning and I asked her to pull the numbers up. I didn't even want to see it. So, right now today, I am 4 deputies short. I am fixing to be, I just came out of a meeting with the jail captain, fixing to be 8 jailers short. Brennan just has hired 2 dispatchers, so I was 2 dispatchers short. With that being said, since those increases have happened, we have lost 24 jailers, 14 deputies, 2 SROs, and 5 dispatchers, even after that. When we first hit it, man, I had applications on my desk, and we filled up just like that. And now it's back off to, you know, it's hard. Right now, we have 0 applications. Social media, I've tried everything that I know to do. And honestly, I don't even know if we threw a number of a cash figure. I don't know that anybody wants to be in law enforcement at the moment, other than the people that have, they're locked in. I can't recruit new help. I mean, it's hard, it's a challenge. I don't know the answer. Of those 14 deputies, 3 of them sat down with me, and I'll tell you what they said. They were pretty upset. No offense to Bobby and them, they were pretty upset that they got a retirement package that law enforcement side didn't get, and they felt like that was an issue. They felt like we should be fair and equal across the board. I don't have an answer.
You
I don't-
explained that to them though, correct?
As far as the feeling fair, I mean, I think it's fair. In my honest opinion, the 55-20, I think should go to law enforcement as well. That's just my opinion. And the reason being is because those guys deserve it as well, but I don't know without looking at a benefits package versus cash on hand, how am I gonna attract somebody? I don't know the answer. If y'all do, please help me. I'm like, we're struggling. I'm trying to figure it out. The ones that left, I'm not saying that was the primary reason, but that was a big thing. They felt like that happened to them. You know, they took it personal. I can't fix that.
I wish they would've contacted me, because there would've been, maybe not the exact answer they wanted to hear, but EMS is the only office in the state of Georgia that did not have a package. You all have Sheriff's Association package with retirement. Firemen have fire associations with retirement. EMS didn't have anything.
But
That's why we went that route.
and the guys have a correct, and I understand that, but I want y'all to understand, the Peace Officers Association is not given to us. We pay for that.
They do too.
So it's just like a 457.
That's exactly what theirs is.
Yeah,
They have to buy
so-
it. We don't pay for it.
Exactly. So our guys felt like, well, if they should have the option to buy it, we should have the option to buy it. So,
That
I
could
mean-
definitely be looked at now.
yeah,
I mean, if they're willing to buy it, I'll be more than happy to.
Oh, we
go
got
with
some
it.
right there that's been there for a while, like, hey, you know, I'm 55, they offer it.
I mean, I'll be honest, it didn't cost us anything to offer. I mean,
Exactly.
If you want us to look back at it, I have no problem putting that together.
Oh, yeah, I mean, we've talked
It'll
about
help.
it, we've talked about it in office, not, you know, we mentioned before that, we wanted to do it there.
I'll get to work on it this week.
Yeah.
You know, I just
Now, since we talked about that, how many have signed up, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Well, not, and I'm not trying to jump in, but it was an all or nothing for us. So
Yeah, it had to be all or nothing.
Yeah,
Well,
when we done it, it was like,
Yeah, we
I had to go to all of my guys and be like, all right, you're gonna have to pay into this, or we just can't do it. So it was, that was the only way that Greg was able to.
But at
get
least
it
they'll
done.
have the option.
But I mean, something else like, we can put down and say, hey, we offer this.
Sure.
That's a long term. Oh, what we looking at trying to find somebody to stay here. But what kills us, these folks come work for a couple of months and. y'all
You train them.
Yeah, we train them, yeah.
But now, that won't impact their peace officers?
see, peace officers, we pay for that.
Oh, I know, that's just like firemen, I'm
Yeah, y'all
drawing
pay
it
for
down, I
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
But I'm just saying, to have another option out there is not gonna affect that at all.
It's just
Under
like
state
having,
regulation.
yes, sir, it's just like having 457 here. That's just, or me going out buying an IRA. I mean, that's nothing.
So that's still, so that'll be just a separate, there'll be two separate pensions.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I just,
But, I mean, I really, I'm searching, because I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna staff, because we got population growing. I mean, we got rooftops coming in Madison County left and right, and I'm already depleted. I've had 21 deputies on patrol, that's boots on the ground, as long as we've been here, and as long as Kip was here. That was the number. That hasn't grown at all. But I can't ask for new positions. I can't fill the ones I've got. I mean, we can throw numbers together but it's tough, man. I mean,
Is it- yeah, and I understand that, and
Yeah.
given that the package too, but what you were saying before, there's a lot of folks, I guess it's right now, it's not one of the prime things that younger folks are wanting to go into.
That's
And
it.
so I guess just other counties around us are seeing that same thing as far as.
100%.
They're
Yes, sir.
just, so it's just now
it's-
stealing from each other, is that what it
That's
is?
all we're doing, is bouncing, and
Well, see,
honestly,
right now, it's not even that now. The ones that's leaving, it's just getting out of it altogether.
Yeah.
They're not going to nothing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
yeah, of those 14, 6 of them left law enforcement.
And believe me, I've tried to recruit from other agencies. That might not have been the right thing to do, but I tried.
But- And they're just not. I understand,
Yeah, it's
Well,
tough.
their thing is, if they move, they're gonna, if they get out, they're getting out.
you're right.
I don't have an answer. I don't.
Alright. Any other thing on the budget 50? If not, we'll move to the jail 51. And I do appreciate all the explanations, by the way.
Oh, yeah, everybody, we share the pain. We share the good times and the bad. I mean, it's- I don't know of anything that's gonna hit us other than probably, y'all are aware of the mold issues we got in the building. As far as the day-to-day operations, what all of us have worked out, I mean, we're good. That mold issue scares me to death.
Yeah.
I think y'all have seen some of that. I've only had one cleanup response, quote, and they were out of their mind, I'll be honest with you, it was, 45,000 plus.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm waiting on, a lot of other options.
I got off the phone with Alan today, and one of the things was to get above the sale of non-cohol and let's find out if they're insulated.
Yeah.
Because it's not gonna do any good to clean it up until you fix the problem.
That's right.
And if we verify that there's no insulation in the walls, then we can come in and blow cellulose inside every block around the sheriff's side. Because it's on the sheriff's side, not as bad as in the jail, correct? And there was some heating area issues that I think they got resolved, the heat exchanger got changed.
A lot of that stuff has gotten a lot better lately.
Good.
We've done a lot of work.
We gotta get the old ceiling tiles out too.
Yeah, we gotta do that. Yep.
Hopefully, by January 1st, we'll have some answers and some more progression.
That's right,
made.
that's right. only thing I can say is just same thing. How can we fix 8 jailers down? I mean, there's 24 positions, I'm down 8.
At what point do you have to house out? I mean, I know you don't wanna
Depends
get,
on how many jailers we got.
that's what I'm talking about, at what
Yeah.
point of jailers, like how many more you lose before you start having to house out?
We're down to 50 inmates.
And honestly, before we start housing out, we get with the DA. I mean, straight up and say, hey, look, this is where we're at. Of these nonviolent criminals, they're probationers, they're reoffenders, drug users, and that's the bulk majority of what we always have is probation. Who of that can we get in front of a judge, and if they're gonna be sentenced, once we get a sentence, then we've got a relationship established, we get them going to the state. So, we start speeding up the process, so the DA works very good with us, on that aspect, so before we get to that point, we start depleting the jail first, but, we don't run, what they call, direct view, in-person jail, or it's a jailer inside the pods, we do direct view. So it means that we can decrease legally the amount of jail staff. So it's pretty much, I don't know the number, like 11 to 1.
That's what I was looking for, something like that.
11 to 1, roughly, 10, 11 to 1, somewhere in that ballpark. So,
Now, those cameras in those pods,
they work fine, video is fine. We don't have any audio in there, and that's gonna help a lot of that, because you can see somebody flailing their arms and you just don't hear anything, so, yeah,
you'd probably have it muted if you had it.
you're probably right. And that's just the jailers.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you're probably right.
So your education, training costs, travel, all that stuff that you submitted, you're comfortable with?
I feel good. I think we're okay.
The one thing that I did notice coming across the table, and I don't know where we stand, Kathy might be able to give it to me, and it'll be on the clothing side. I was picking the other day and said that some of you guys need to join up on this thing over here. It seems like I'm buying clothes constantly for the certain ones. I don't know if we need to add weight or take away weight, but something happening to the clothes. There's a whole lot of money for clothes.
It is absolutely ridiculous. If I hire a deputy and I don't have uniforms in my closet to fit said officer, it costs me $1,200 to outfit them.
About it, I believe it.
And and you're looking, we've got 24 jailers that have been changed.
Yeah,
So look, in 2 years' time, we spent $30,000, $35,000
yeah, I
on
believe it.
uniform. That is sky high. One pair of pants costs $80. It's ridiculous. No joke.
Is it, do you get them from a specific vendor, are they, I mean, what's the,
It's across the board. It doesn't matter. We go to uniform stores.
Just law enforcement.
Yeah,
actuals?
law enforcement stores, and there's a couple in Athens, there's Gauls, the catalog, we typically like to go, and because they wanna try the pants on, they wanna feel them, they wanna, you know what I mean? Just like everybody does when they buy clothes, so.
Yeah, but that's the reason I brought that up, was because of that turnover runs your clothes rate high. So if anybody looked in here and said, wow, we spent so much on clothes, which I know we spend a lot, but it's because of the turnover.
Unfortunately, everybody's not a same size fit, that we
I
have,
agree,
unfortunately.
And the ones we got, going in our closet, some of them been made to fit this person had it, then it's been made to fit this person, and then they look like crap.
yeah.
You can't fix them so many times, what the person says.
Now, your champs program here, everything good there, and budget 52?
Once I hire one,
Okay, so you should have a surplus because you don't have one.
Yep.
Me and Michael was briefly discussing this the other day, and I don't know if the board mentioned it, but it's been mentioned to me out in the public. I get the SRO officers in the high school. Would it not be more beneficial for you to get the SROs out of the elementary schools and let them go to a contract labor? I'm just asking.
so they won't do it.
I mean, that's on
They,
them.
they have the, some counties actually do that, Everett County does that. But what Everett County's challenge is, they're not certified peace officers, okay? So they have to, anybody can file a juvenile complaint, that's not a problem, okay? So you don't have to be. But if there's anything of anybody that needs to be arrested, then what happens is they actually have to call in, and they have a contract with Everton Police Department. So in that way, the school of Madison County chooses not to do that. They would rather contract with us because I can tell you why, 100%, it saves them a lot of money on their insurance. 100%. In order for them to put an armed guard inside, they have to pay a huge premium. Huge. So they
I was
would-
just, reason I'd asked that was trying to up your road deputy staff and your jail staff, if you could pull some of those back. Because if one of those quit tomorrow, do you lose one off the street to fill that position, or how does that work?
Well, I've got an SRO position open now, I've got a patrol deputy requesting it, I can't let him go. And we've had that behind closed door meeting just because I can't lose you, even though he wants to get off the 12-hour shifts, they're rotating the patrol, he wants to go to the Monday through Friday. But I can't lose him on patrol because I'm 3 down. So eventually, we try to promote from within, that's just 100%, we always try to promote from within. That is a position that you want to achieve, to get out of patrol into a Monday through Friday. So, you don't wanna stop that. I'm not gonna hire somebody off the street to go into my school,
Sure.
because I'm gonna promote from within. So, with that said, it's a balancing act, but keep in mind, the school actually pays for 3 of those, 100%.
Yeah.
So,
So it's sort of a win-win.
It's a win-win.
It's really not pulling away from you. That's what I was
yeah,
asking.
yeah.
And if we as a commission were to make some changes that affected that, I don't know that those would be taken very positively, because
You'd have the mad mamas.
yeah, because I just know how that it all works, you know,
Yep.
in the school system.
Well, the phone rings nonstop when there's not one at school
Yeah.
for a few days.
Yeah, and then I know that some of the issues, especially like with the middle schools and those kind of things, it's probably the best to have officers from the
I
county
can
in
just,
there.
I can say from a previous SRO that I've done it in the middle school, I was the first in Madison County Middle School. I don't know how they survive without it, I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty hectic at times,
Yeah.
so,
If the school board's paying for 3,
yes, sir.
we're picking up 4?
Yep.
How's it
And
going?
one of those 4 now is Department 52. So Department 50 covers 2 of them. Department 52 is a lot of your fines, fees, and penalties that come from court that goes into what they call drug fund. That has to be for education purposes only. So that funnels through, you guys down to Department 52. So that has, and that's that CHAMPS program. So we take the CHAMPS program that runs for 3 months out of the school year. The rest of the time, that department pays for a full-time SRO. So it's portioned, you know, I don't know the equation, it's more on taxpayers than it is the drug fund, I'm sure, but that's where one of those bodies come from.
And you're saying that right now, we don't have anybody, actually, the champs
That is correct.
person?
That is correct. I had to take my middle school officer out of middle school because he was my only certified CHAMPS instructor that could teach it. So he was out of the middle school for, we dropped it to actually 8-week program instead of 3 months. So they were without somebody in middle school for 8 weeks. We just had to, patrol had to walk in and answer calls. And
So now, do you have a plan to get that back, or not right now?
just trying to hire somebody.
Hire somebody first.
I mean,
So
that's,
so the champs person, could that be you would put then a person that's already, because I guess they got special training for champs?
they are, yep. It's, in order to use CHAMPS, that is a Georgia Sheriff's Association based program. So they actually have to go, we have to send them, and they actually have to pass a state test. So in order for them to be a certified instructor, so that's a 2-week class that we send them to. So yes, sir, and their minimum requirement is you have 2 years law enforcement experience.
Okay.
So,
So if you did that, you'd probably you would move somebody that had that experience back in there, and that you just need to hire somebody for
Yes,
the
sir.
road or
yes, sir.
what?
It's kind of a revolving door. You kind of work the road you work the jail to do your time to get to the road, and you work the road to do your time to get to
Right.
the other position, so it's,
So what's the current starting jailer, just because I don't know it all?
today is $12.50. Yep, and we have it budgeted for starting January to go up to $13.50. Yep. Those numbers, that increase. So that's the challenge. Yep.
SROs, has there been some additional conversation with the school board and those contracts for them to start picking up a little bit more cost-wise? I mean, the reason I say that is if it's such a savings for them not to have, from an insurance standpoint, from an RN person.
I don't know
I mean,
how would I sell them on it? I mean, what are you thinking? Because they're already, they're paying for the body, they're paying for the uniform, they're paying for the
you said they're
training.
paying 3 out of 7,
Yeah,
so,
I see what you're saying, yeah.
I mean, it's just conversation, I mean, I know everybody don't wanna pay for it, but also, we got a different organization that
Yep.
pre-funded some money that's generating a couple $1 million more a year on taxes, so there's,
Yep,
it's all intertwined.
yep, it is, I see what you're saying.
Is that a yearly contract, or is it 5-year, 3-year?
Typically, he does a 4-year contract, because it's toward his term, so it's,
With an older term, try not to.
yeah, he's always,
Trying to do an older term.
Yeah.
yeah.
Just to go back just a second to the mold issue over there. Had a survey done of mold,
We did, yes, sir.
and you mentioned, I think I heard a number in the 40s there
Yes, sir.
for corrective action of mold mediation.
That would be completely, I guess delousing is maybe the right word, I'm not sure, but cleaning all the ductwork, removing every AC unit from the roof with a crane, setting it down, sterilizing the AC unit, replacing that said unit, going through, replacing the tiles that are required, disinfecting. We'll actually have to vacate the offices. They'll come in with like suits on and do their thing.
That's not bad.
Is that,
Yeah,
well, did we send out a RFP looking for someone to do this with, and as part of this CARES Act money, would it be available for something like that?
Very possibly,
I
but it would be something we'd like for RFP on, I'm sure.
I know that we discussed, just touched on it one time, that we could use part of that money for some, mold mediation in the old, but it was just casual conversation in the old courthouse. It would seem to me that this particular application would be more pressing at this time for us than,
Because it's such a-
and I say that because, it only takes one person with the right doctor and the right attorney to determine if they had a health issue generated by that.
it's not Vaughn County yet, but I'm working on it. I'm just kidding. Yeah, you're right, no joke. You're right.
Let's work on getting that out for RFP then.
But if y'all want somebody knows, runny nose like I got, just go to my office, said that.
I'll be honest with you, it's horrible.
Is the source of it been identified?
Yes,
The
sir.
cause of it, I guess?
Yes, sir. Most of it, they're saying it's HVAC related, from the HVAC, the ductwork, the spacing between the ceiling, the drop ceiling and the actual roof line. None of that's insulated. The ductwork, which is insulated, comes in. The vent, I guess you would say, the vents they actually installed are not insulated. And there's a lot of condensation and moisture building up right there on those vents, and it's just spreading. And when it started spreading, it's already spreading down the walls, the door jambs. You know, we fight it.
Black mold.
They got one of those words that's about this long, it's not black mold, it's mold that grows on fruit. Basically what it was identified. They actually came in, took samples, so they actually sent it to Miami, to a lab. It's basically the same mold that grows on fruit.
It's
Which,
like a mildew.
yeah, which still will make you sick, but potentially, but
That non-heated space between the two sweating.
yeah.
Well, I remember when the jail construction, when that took place, there were several things done in that building that took place in order to get the project within budget.
Think so.
I know, sir.
Yes,
I was the first prisoner over there.
I think I
So,
put you in, I remember
I
that.
believe you did. I believe you let me out, is what you did, which I was thankful to see you that Friday afternoon, you know?
That's hilarious.
But there was a number of things related to that project and budget related to it that drove some of this stuff, which, you know, should be a lesson for all of us, that, you know, what was the old commercial, pay me now or pay me later?
Yeah.
The later's here, you know.
Well, from the update I had last week, it does look like the original ARPA funds, and I may have sent that out to y'all. I tried to do some division, but was to allow to be able to cover what you need done over there. And those grills, you're gonna throw them away anyway. You're not gonna clean those grills. You're gonna throw them away and get insulated grills.
Yeah.
So,
Going back to the budget questions, on 1551, I noticed that there seems to be what I would call substantial, and I appreciate it, saving or downward trend on employee pension. But it kind of struck me odd, is that just sheer lack of people, because next year's budget is not anticipating full staff, and therefore you're not asking us to put money into
Maybe you can have to answer that one.
The pension required contribution tax will decrease, for this coming year.
because of, we don't know?
It's through ACCG.
Okay.
yeah, they come up with a crazy number. Remember, we had this discussion. ACCG says, okay, you're gonna pay this amount, they're projected for the year, and then this year we get an email from them that decreased by some 70%. We was like, that numbers can't be correct. And what it looked like they'd been doing was the number they kept projecting every year that we'd worked off of was not an accurate number. So now they've said, no, this is your real number, and it was a huge savings. Remember that, Kathy, we were talking about?
The actual contribution amount did decrease totally though, from 21 to 22.
So what,
At the tune of what? Do you remember the dollar amount? I want to say it was,
No, I don't remember right now.
they kept telling us to budget somewhere around 800,000, 400,000 is what they wanted us to budget. And they said, no, you don't need to budget that amount. You need to be looking at 100, 150,000 or something like that. But it was way more than 50%. And we actually questioned it, and turns out all their answer could be was we overshot the initial budget from ACCG, because that's the number you're supposed to work off of. And it was their mistake, but it's actually cost us in the year. I don't think we actually paid that amount in. It's just that's the number that always showed up on the budget for it. Is that correct?
so this is a one-time correction, more than likely is what you're saying, versus that they, you know, say if they staff up, say April, I don't know, say influx, they get a full staff, they wouldn't be coming back to us and saying, hey, we hired more people, therefore we need to bump these line items back up.
From my understanding, no.
It goes from year to year, and, all of this, of course, is based on investments, and, it's.
So their return on their investments is much better than it was for years.
Percentage per employee increases or decreases. Normally, in past years, the original auditor, now senior partners that we don't see very often, said that you should always estimate the 12%. Now, in all the years, 1 year, it was more than 12%. But every year that I'm aware of, it always increased by several percentage points, but this is the first year I've ever seen it had, would have made contributions enough where it's decreasing.
Yeah,
The
roughly
round number
there's-
on it was about 400,000. I remember we were shocked
Mm-hmm.
at the savings.
Yeah, we paid,
But it sounds like it's on the process side, not
It is,
necessarily sheer
it
numbers.
is, yes, sir.
Sheer number of bodies that you got.
I can honestly tell you, I'd say I've got 50 employee slots. I sent it to these guys and all the stuff at FICA, all that stuff, I don't try to equate. I mean, I just, you know,
I'm good.
I think your number submitted here is based off of full staff.
yes, sir.
So this
100%.
is projected, he's completely full.
I just got one little question here, who's that inmate medical, I just looking at that, because Dr. Zero, so who do we contract with? for-
It's Core Care, it's Dr. Paul Buchinski, is his name. That's the name of their company, Core Care. And one of the reasons I like, we call him Dr. B, one of the reasons I like him is because Elbert County has him, Oglethorpe County has him, Franklin County several, about 9 counties that border us all around, they use him as well, so in case we are in some kind of population crunch, and I have to send this inmate to one of the bigger jails, neighboring county, they still have our same doctor, so we don't get into an issue. So it just works.
And that, so I understand that they actually come out to the jail, or is
The doctor himself actually comes every Tuesday.
every Tuesday?
Every Tuesday. He is on site and he himself is on call 24/7. And I can say this, man, I have had some scares that, one of the deputies would call me and say, hey, I just got in a fight, I got cut up, I'm bleeding, come to find out this guy's got AIDS. I'll call Dr. B, I said, hey, can we talk him off a ledge and help me with this? And Bobby does as well, but Dr. B will go, man, he'll go the extra mile and he'll call that guy's doctor, cause they're friends, and, you know, don't necessarily report this, but he just goes, you know, the extra mile for us, because he feels like we're all a family. I mean, it just, having him is an asset.
Gotcha.
On the champ stuff, is that usually, one person is the champs?
Typically, what I've always tried to do in the past is have one person be champs coordinator and run off a 52 budget, and I'll have one other person, that sergeant, that I send and get them recertified every 2 years, or every 4 years is a requirement with them, because I gotta have that. He's been with the county almost 20 years, so I gotta have that go-to guy in case my champs officer quits. So it is a one-person type position, yes, sir.
And when they're not doing champs, what do they do?
They're inside the school as one of the SROs.
One of the SROs.
Yes, yep.
So, I know you had, was it Moss, Brandon Moss?
Mhm.
Right. He came to Hull
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
But could you train like the SRO at each school to be a champs?
So big.
But the thing about it, when you put somebody in that position, you want to put somebody that wants to
That
do
wants to do
it,
it,
not
okay.
being made to do it.
Okay.
And
that's for the benefit of the kids.
Right, oh yeah, yeah.
And
I
it's
mean, most
also-
of the
yeah,
SROs that we've had are, you know, they generally have a good rapport with the kids already.
Yeah.
I didn't know if that was just,
Well, you take, I'd say like Weaver, she's good with the kids, but she can't be a street resource officer. I mean, to be a champs officer.
Champ.
She's great with the kids though, but that ain't her desire, and she'll tell you, I'm not gonna do that.
So you gotta think about it twofold too, because when that instructor is teaching, they have a curriculum they have to teach, and they have to be in that classroom for that X amount of,
All day.
all right, pretty much all day. So in case somebody does come in, I don't wanna tie up, say what we do right now is we rotate. So if that one person is is scheduled to teach, I have another, SRO that would leave their school and go to that school and do walkthroughs, and then they bounce back and forth. So that, basically, even though I've got an officer there teaching, they still get coverage as well. So it's utilizing your resources, so, it's working so far, if I'm fully staffed,
Yeah, I've heard that most of that is great programming.
they love the kids, the parents, man, they love that Champs program, it's phenomenal, it really is.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Any just generic questions for the board while you got their attention?
Sheriff needs a raise.
Yeah.
Full chair.
Yeah. You see how we get along? We tag teaming this one. I'm riding with you there, Mike.
So we can say no one time. but-
That's right.
That's why we do it that way.
I think you have to talk to the state about that.
The state said we gotta talk to y'all about getting some more. So
We
y'all can
do
get
gotta
more
talk
before they
about-
see it.
We do gotta talk to ACCG about something. At 5 years to be vested, but it's a 4-year term. That don't make any sense.
You have to get reelected.
I don't want to
That's
be
what I'm
elected,
saying.
maybe.
That's it.
Hey, I think we're actually on the agenda, are we tonight?
Yes.
Still?
Mhm.
Do we wanna cover that today, or do we want to?
That's up to y'all.
Do it in a work session with the public here.
Okay.
It was,
What is it about?
vacation
vacation.
hours.
Yeah.
It gives something to think about
And
though, so y'all can
employee-
discuss it later, until we come back in a couple hours.
Oh, yeah, that's small.
That's
Yes.
small, that's all it is.
Yeah, it's gonna be small, because what we done, we got folks that, hey, let's move some people around, take this time off, you gotta go.
So we'll go ahead and discuss that, and then that way we'll just vote. Y'all don't have to stay overtime. Y'all can go home to your families, because it's that small. Tell us.
So,
Yeah.
so basically, I don't have to tell y'all we're short, we've already beat the horse. What we're asking for permission is, I've got only my patrol guys, I've got Zach Brooks, Jason Ring, Austin Schubert, Jason Gaddy, and Justin Hanley, that they're longtime employees, they've earned a lot of vacation. I need to ask if there's any way we can pay out their vacation, and I'm struggling staffing. All of my guys, my investigators, all of them school resource officers, all of them that are Monday through Friday, everyone has used their vacation or out at the moment. Money wise, I've got it whittled down to $3,500. That's what I'm talking about for all of them. I'm not talking about a lot of money. I know it just is against the policy of the Board of Commissioners to pay out over their 240 hours. Some of them are, we're talking about 30 hours, 65 hours, and that gets them below the cap, so they don't lose it. It's either use it or lose it. I can't afford to let them take off. And
Last year, because of COVID, anyone who was, in excess of 240 hours, because they didn't take off, you paid.
We did that policy, was that a short-term policy, was that just a one-time policy change, or is that now, we put it in policy?
I think it was probably one time.
One time, I'd say we could do that.
Well, we are still in this COVID world.
Yeah.
And the only reason I'm pushing this is because I'm gonna brag on Jeff a little bit.
And I
know
will
you
tell
don't
you-
wanna hear it, Mike.
And I would
I'm
tell
gonna
you a
brag.
couple of these that was on vacation, had to come in and work because the ones that was working had corona. That's back when we all had a meeting in here and everybody got sick.
One guy. All right, 3. But no, why I want to brag on Jeff for just a minute is Jeff started this deal out about a month and a half ago, asking permission about bringing it to the board, and you were around $15,000 worth. And I said, man, can you please get that cut in half? And he said, well, let me see what I can do, and then he come back at 10, and then he actually went to every person that was gonna be over and just said, guys, flex it out, please, so figure it out, all but the deputies on the road, because there wasn't enough people to take off. Now, I'm sure we could probably take the next month and flex it all out. Problem is there won't be anybody on the road, because those is 5 of the 10 road guys you got. And I told him, I said, I'd be willing to hear, when he told me 3,500, I said, bring it on, we'll look at it from the board's perspective. That's why they made that request.
Yeah, I mean,
Is that something that could potentially be paid out of ARP funds for corona relief?
It could very well, sir.
that sounds good.
I thought that, in stuff I've read about it, that salary,
Yes.
including overtime and vacation,
It can,
specifically, that this was listed as an item that could be done.
it can.
I thought so, I mean, I won't die on the sword right now, but that was my understanding.
You are
so.
correct.
I think,
But we're not,
But you need to
I'm gonna
state
be the
that it'll be
parliamentarian.
another one-time only.
I'm gonna be the parliamentarian, but when that action comes, it probably needs to be in a regular board meeting.
That's why I say, we'll vote tonight.
Yeah,
I
we
wanted them to hear your perspective of it in case I got it wrong.
as long as it's a 1-year exception, I think it's.
And they understand that, and honestly, they're coming to me and saying, hey, I gotta let my guys off, because, I mean, I can't, you know, they earned it. I don't wanna say you can't take it, but I'm running out of bodies.
And then, you know, one of us, I mean, you got Jason Ring, who is the lieutenant on shift.
Well, Justin Hanley and Jason, and they're the scheduling people they're my schedulers, they're the lieutenants, and I mean, they're the rotation commanders.
So they're doing good by not hogging that time off. They're trying to let their guys be off instead of them hogging it like they.
How many deputies is it? 6?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
But here again, it doesn't include Mike.
Now, we
We
did talk
we never
about
include
the,
him.
we have talked about the.
I work more hours than all of them.
You elected.
Was that what happened?
Yeah, I think that's it.
That's what
We'll not
happened.
make
You
this
said, "Vote for
mistake
me."
again, Mark. But no, we did talk about the backlash about this topic also, and it would be for those that were able to take it. You know, it could come back to Jeff and Michael saying, hey, why, you know, we got ours, but had we had known, and that's why we're looking at it as a worst case scenario, they tried their best, they saw that they tried their best, and this is what the result was, because it'll come up potentially in your department or the rec department or something like that. Now, y'all are not as short-staffed, to where they have that opportunity. I know the road department, we've got a couple of them that's gonna be off all month, at the road department. They're just gone 4 weeks because they're burning their time.
And we're the same with SROs and, investigators and.
And I just wanna make it clear, when we do make this vote tonight, that's stated, now this is not for everybody, there's a reason. Because these other departments, you had an opportunity to burn it. It's the same way I just did with lunch breaks in that meeting the other morning. You know, when you're only one there, I can see when you don't get a lunch break. But if there's 3 of you in the office, you get a lunch break. Don't charge me no more. I'm not trying to get off topic, but the same way with you guys, you don't have a way to let them off.
I think that as it ought to be structured is it's a specific exception for the sheriff's department for these employees because of the COVID situation and just, you know, that's.
That'd be fine. We'll worry about that tonight.
I'll just get with Mr. Pruitt on that appropriate.
Sure.
order.
There's actually the deputies. and
Yeah, just for the
names.
record, get the deputies' names that this involves.
Okay.
Got it listed.
Y'all got any other bad news?
911
Salary
center.
60.
Yeah.
911 center.
Yeah. That's ours too.
Yeah.
Y'all want that? Y'all say that.
We just vote on that for urgent matter.
Sure. And actually, it don't have to be
Oh,
next.
it's car.
Yeah, I didn't know what the.
And the work session is the 6th.
Where you
It all depends on when their last payout is. It don't matter.
Maybe get it off the table.
That'd be
There's
fine.
something else to do.
That'd be
Yeah.
fine. And no, I'll be honest with you, I don't.
Business.
I mean, $3,500, you can take it out of our salary.
You take it out of
Sure,
our salary.
I don't care.
It ain't
Think I
hurt.
might- what'd you say?
Take it out of Department 50 salary line, I don't care. I mean, we're so short on salaries, it's not gonna hurt me.
Yeah, actually, you're gonna come in a good bit
We're
under
good.
budget.
Yeah, but they ain't come out of that.
And I gotta commend y'all for that. I know it was not just because of people off. You done a good job, Jeff. Michael don't like it when I brag on you, but you do a really good job with those numbers. I
Look, that's why I
appreciate
give him numbers, I don't fool with him.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I get lucky. Kathy straightens me out.
As she does us all.
That's right.
anything big in the 911 that we need to know about?
What I'm looking at is like a $10,000 decrease.
60.
Yeah, it's the Department 60.
I'm seeing 11,000 increase.
And it may have changed since these numbers I looked at.
I got 966.
Okay, I got 945, so something
There's
changed somewhere.
945.
I got 945.
I got the oldest copy there.
On the
Good deal.
computer.
I don't have any more questions then. And you got right back.
The printed copy does say 966, the revisions, the
945.
latest revision that was sent out is subtotal for 60, Department 6 is gonna be 945, 697.
Do you know of anything that's coming down the pipe that you can project that 911's gonna need that we need to be aware of? I think after this last little upgrade and the swap over, you know, we had to include those generators.
That's right.
And I give them a go-ahead for that, cause it was the last piece of the puzzle, so we shouldn't be looking at anything
Yep.
for this coming year.
Honestly, right off the top of my head, and I've asked Brendan as well, I don't know of anything, fingers crossed. So,
Remind him, I'm still waiting on my joint development sign off on all the radios. I know he came and said everything was working good, but when I voted, I said I wanted all users, so I want a final report.
Gotcha.
There's been a lot of comments about the fire department radios,
Good and bad, yeah.
mostly bad. Although, well, the comments are always gonna be bad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If it's working right, you don't hear about it.
yeah, that's right.
There's been a lot of comments that those radios not right.
Cause a lot changed.
Or,
Don't
well,
want change.
I couldn't tell you about why.
Well, that's why I was insisting on a joint, let's get it all dialed in.
If we're done, we can set that in January. The first meeting in January, that gives Brendan all of December to get everybody, all the bugs worked out in December, and come in January, present it in a work session if he likes, because that'll be the best time to discuss it, where there's no voting. If you can make sure that happens. And no, I don't want it back. I don't know why you want it.
I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna run with it. Because the next step, if we can't get along, ain't nobody gonna like it.
I get it.
It is
I've
what
heard
it
it
is.
from every angle, from upside down and backwards.
I mean, this has been a battle through, what, 3 sheriffs?
A lot of history
A
there,
lot
guys.
of history, a lot of same history.
A lot of new people, though, we shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
Whatever the
Oh,
issue,
exactly,
good,
that's what I'm
bad, and
saying.
good, bad, or indifferent, there's a lot of new people in new places, and the issue should be resolved by this point.
But I got something in the work coming up that I think is gonna fix it. And if that don't fix it, then it ain't gonna fix it.
As I've said before, I trust you, so.
It's just with all this other stuff going on right now, and Christmas stuff and fundraisers, I just ain't the time to get it.
I understand. So you said 945 looks fine to you?
Yes, sir.
Anybody got any questions? Kathy, you got anything before we release these 3 to go home and eat while the rest of us stay here?
No, I'm good.
Do you need to chap their hands for any reason while they're here?
No.
I did somebody the other day, turned in an April receipt with no signature at the bottom. So make sure that thing gets signed by whoever picked them up. I know Renee got it in, but it's whoever, whenever the officer had it, he didn't sign for it, so I just said, make sure that Renee watches the signatures, because last thing you want is someplace to mail you a bill and say, hey, you owe for that, and nobody signed for it. But that was just something simple, but no, I have no problems. I wanna thank you for the cooperation from 2021 that you give me, and I can only look forward to 2022 because of the job that both y'all do and you guys do. I appreciate it.
We'll see you on the shore.
You won't need to come back for that, I can call you on that one.
We will.
Unless anybody's got any more questions for tonight, because all we're gonna do is put it on the board to approve or disapprove, and I can call you.
That's fine.
Sounds Sounds good to me.
Or you can read it in the minutes for the newspaper.
That's right. Don't tell Zach I don't read paper.
What?
He's putting up pictures in there. He's comic stuff.
I bet you Frank in there this week. He'll be in this week.
Ah, Frank, though.
Yeah, and you go see Cody too, he's smiling. All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Appreciate it, John. Thank you.
All right.
Well,
See you, brother.
All right, Bobby, move over to the hot seat. so
All
we can
right.
see. Department, which one?
55.
That's right, I saw them. You been on truck today?
Yeah. I'm technically, I'm off now.
The same question for you, did it increases, how much did it help you on your staff?
So it helped us retain, I will say that. As far as part-time goes, we're in the same boat. Public safety is just dying right now because, and I know Michael and them know it too. And this happens when the economy gets up. I mean, when you can go to Amazon and make $22 an hour, you know, why are you gonna go be a deputy, or why are you gonna come, you know, go to school for 2.5 years to be a paramedic? It just, hopefully when the economy kind of dies back off, we'll see some influx of part-timers coming back in, but they're just not putting them out right now. It's just, you know, there's just not very much money in it. I mean, comparatively, so, we have not lost anybody to like outside, you know, whether it be hospitals or services or anything like that. So it really has helped retain the employees, because I know there's counties like Jackson that, I mean, golly, they've got approved to add 2 more trucks, which will put them at 10. I talked to the director over there last week, and they're not even running but like 4 and 5 a shift, just because they can't staff them full-time. So, I mean, we're doing a whole lot better than other counties around us, as far as just keeping trucks up and going. I mean, like I said, and me and the chairman have talked this, but on average, I'd say we probably have 5 or 6 part-timers put in a month for, you know, that's not very many at all. We have, I think it's 50 on the part-time list, and they just, I mean, unfortunately for our business, the hospitals and these different facilities are starting to hire paramedics in there, and that's great for the profession, because there's more money for those guys there, but it really hurts us because we lose that, you know, that employee's not coming and working part-time for me, but he can go to the hospital and make $30 an hour, you know. So we're still giving out more overtime than I'd like, but, I mean, it's not as bad as what we had been, because we were able to get everything filled and keep it filled, so.
Anything you want to point out that you think might be of interest to us on?
I would, and me and the chairman had talked about this. Our maintenance, control and other equipment, that may actually be able to go down. We just purchased new monitors, a couple of months ago, and so that maintenance should go down for a couple of years. We won't have to pay maintenance on this, because obviously it'll be under warranty. So that
Maintenance, control, other equipment, or?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that should be able to go down, because we were paying, I'm trying to remember what it was, I want to say it was about $5-6 grand for, maintenance and, basically a service contract for our old monitors. Well, those are going away at the 1st of December, so hopefully that'll be able to come down. It's hard to gauge that right now,
Right.
but, you know, once those go on the truck, hopefully we won't end up spending all that money. Outside of that, everything was pretty much, it's just inflation, 3% is basically what I've gone up everything. I think we did go up a little extra on the radios, because they're a little more expensive to maintain and purchase since we went to that digital system. But outside of that, I think everything else is pretty good. We went up a little bit on our travel, food, and lodge, and that's just because we've got more classes they're doing. Corona's kind of easing off, and we're doing more classes. So. also, we're working on the Comer station at this point, so hopefully that Comer Utilities, it'll go down some too as well, once we get that station built. Cause I think, we appreciate the city letting us be in the building we're in, but it's very, very old and very, very drafty, so we spend a lot on electricity and heat.
Alan's still
He's
trying to
working
pull
on
some
it.
numbers
I mean, it's,
Josh.
golly, it's hard to get.
I've never seen anything like it, guy. We started this 6 months ago, trying to put numbers together for that station in Comer.
I mean, we can't get contractors to call us back. I mean,
Everybody don't have help, or either they're so booked up that they're 2 years out, or 1 year out, or the price is through the roof.
yeah,
I mean,
we ended up, and I don't know how much the chairman's told y'all, but, it was gonna be a Butler building. I mean, that's like, all the rest of our stations. And we couldn't do it for that. It was way overpriced. It was cheaper for us to stick build it. And that's, with prices the way they are, that's just, it's crazy to think. I'd never thought that it would have been cheaper.
I've never seen where you can't line up two contractors in a row. I've never seen that like that. And because it's a small enough project that most of your bigger contractors don't want to fool with. But then, I mean, some of it just rules out your house guys a lot of times, but we're still working on it. I hope that thing will be up and running by April.
Yeah.
May. That's the whole intent.
If we can get the contractors to play ball and just, start working with us, then, I mean, I don't think it'll take long, I think we can get it up pretty quick. It's just getting into.
Yeah, the site's on grade now. The
Yeah.
site's on grade. Get the rough plumbing in, pour the slab and start.
And Kathy, I don't remember that, like, I'm looking at this, do you remember why we went down on janitorial supplies? I don't know, I don't remember doing that because of our increased costs and, cleaning and everything.
While she's looking at that, but under capital, we got another ambulance.
So, yeah, that's another aggravating fight that we've been fighting with. So, our vendor that we purchased from, AEV, currently, we started talking to them, I believe, in June or July about getting a truck and, knew it was coming, knew it was gonna be on the horizon. They told us, I believe at the end of August, that we could no longer purchase a Ford because Ford had stopped building at that point. It'd been nice to know, at the time. So what we're gonna end up having to do is we're gonna put it out for bid and go out and see what other companies offering at this point. We feel like that, it may not be, but we feel like that maybe we can either persuade them to work a little better with us, or maybe find something that's comparable, that's just as good, that seems to be, wanting to kind of look after us when it's stuff like that's coming about, because they knew it. I mean, that's the unfortunate part, is they knew it was gonna, Ford was closing their build bank or whatever, but they didn't bother to give us a heads up. So now if we go with AEV, we're gonna have to end up going to a Dodge, which is fine. It's not a problem. It actually works out better for the shop, for the county farm, because it's easier to work on. The Fords, with those, anytime you have to do any major repair on, you have to pull a cab. So, Dodges you don't. There's enough room that you can actually work on them. So should be actually a little better on them. We've never run Dodges on ambulances. There's some other counties around that have, and, it's just like any other vehicle. I mean, some of them worked out great. You ask some and they don't like them, but,
What's the lead time on them, I guess is what I'm.
well, they told us 365, and that's ridiculous. That's another reason we're gonna go out for bid and just see what's out there and see what everybody else is doing at this point, because waiting a year to buy an ambulance and to get an ambulance is ridiculous. I'll just tell you, that's absurd.
Yeah.
And that's a fire truck build,
We're not even
I know,
what the
but
price is.
see, that's one of the things is Danielsville was supposed to have a tanker that was delivered in August, the truck has not been delivered to the builder yet.
Yeah,
That's one of the issues, so.
right,
I mean, it's a smaller truck, but
right. Well, and that's the,
who knows how long it's gonna take to get the thing.
yeah, and that's the thing, is obviously, I mean, they may be having staffing issues just like everybody else in the country, I don't know, it's just, it's not gonna hurt to go out and see what else we can look at, and hopefully,
I mean, if you're gonna put it on the street for 30 days or whatnot, December 1, 2 or so.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're talking about a couple of days worth of budget, so.
yeah.
Yeah.
One of the other things we've looked at, and we've tried every avenue on this, was getting ourselves set up to do a cabin chassis only and just do a box swap, because the boxes tend to last way longer than the trucks do.
We've got two more purchases and we'll be able to do that
Yeah,
now.
and then we'll be on a cabin chassis deal where we don't have to buy that expensive box. But ambulances have went through the roof also. Last, we were told 220-ish, 240.
Yeah, that's what we're looking at. Like, I think the last trucks that we bought were 183, 184, right in there. And I was already told that when we thought we could get a truck, that we'd probably be at least 220 or so, right around in there, just because of, I mean, everything's outrageous right now, so.
But if we get
Per
those,
square foot.
yeah, if we get those last two, we'll be on a cycle then of just cabin chassis, and then we only have to pay the box swap. So you buy the truck and then we just swap the box over.
Right, they'll upfit it and do some, some reupholstery things and clean it up and make it nice again, but we won't have to pay for that aluminum box every time after that, so.
It's potentially about an $80,000 savings by doing a box swap versus a new purchase. We just gotta get to that.
On janitorial supplies, that is the amount that you requested, and I believe you went, backed up to look at the actual in the
If you look at
previous year.
historical, you still ought to be in good shape.
Okay, and maybe that's what we've done, I just didn't remember doing it.
And so far you've spent, a little under 3,000.
And some of that may be
That's through
because,
October.
we've gotten,
Dirtier.
well, this is, I mean, obviously with COVID, where it is nasty, but we've gotten so much, equipment and supplies and stuff from the state that we haven't had to purchase masks and things like that. They released that federal stockpile and we got a bunch of that stuff when it come out, so, that helped, I'm sure, with all the amount. Otherwise, we'd be in trouble too, having to buy all those masks, because we're still having to wear masks and stuff, so.
Is this the right budget number for the ambulance, 60 grand?
No, what Chairman Scarborough done was put it on a 3-year rotation, so basically every 3 years we could buy an ambulance, but that was when we were looking at them being 180, and they're not 180 anymore. So if we wanna adjust that, now would be the time. If we wanna still get it on a 3-year rotation, or eventually, and I know the chairman and I talked about this, and this is what other counties are doing. They either put a limit on the mileage, like at 150, or like Franklin and Elbert, some of the other places, they buy one ambulance a year. That way, it's easy to budget, it's already there, and then by the time that truck goes out of service, it's still 8 years old, because, you have to have backups. I mean, we've had it to where we don't wanna be borrowing ambulances from Oglethorpe or somewhere else. That's not a good look. So that's my eventual goal, is to get it so that we're buying a truck a year, or remounting a truck a year.
If you remount a truck a year, then we'll take the cabin chassis and make it into a road department truck.
Right, and then they still,
It's only 8 years old.
yeah, and then they still getting a decent vehicle that they can run out of too. So it's not like the ones that they're gonna get this next rotation, those things are,
Well, and I guess my question now is, what I'm looking at on the computer, or on the spreadsheet, under the capital request, it talks about, like the Lucas, the monitor, it specifically says 2 of 3, or 1 of 1. So with this 60,000, the way it's presented to us right now, for my clarity, is it a payment of 1 of 3, 2 three at three? Is this a new one to start with? Is this the
How many
$60,000
sixties have you already got?
pay?
Oh, we just spent,
Yeah, this is the first one.
this is the first year, because that last, one of the last ones come off of that. The one, I guess, was it 19 that we got them in? I think so. So that, was it 19, Kathy, or 20 when they actually got here? I think it was 20, wasn't it? So this is our first round of 60 again, so
Yep.
we're basically starting over from purchasing the last two. that
So
we
this is
bought.
my first payment on a new vehicle, is what you're.
Yeah.
So it ought to be more like, even 80, if you're saying it's about 240. is that
Yeah,
what
it's
it-
probably gonna be 80 instead of 60.
Yeah,
Good point, pick that out.
yeah, sorry, I didn't catch it.
I didn't either.
So, but are we looking at,
To
but if
get-
this is the first year, but we're looking at going ahead and purchasing,
I think
right?
one of them, we had splossed, that,
Oh, we do?
mhm.
Okay.
No, you did. You still got it now?
Our new splosh, yeah, we finally burned out,
The old
when-
splosh.
the old
14
splosh.
splosh got
Mhm,
burned.
That's right. So we've got money in the new splosh, and I think the plan was, to purchase one now, and then we're fixing to be, and then another one in 23, I believe, is what we had talked about.
That's right.
I think that's how we laid it out.
So if you do that, though, it needs to be 120 a year then.
If we
Which
want
on
to
a 2-year
decrease that
cycle.
timeline, yes, sir, if we would like to decrease that timeline.
The
to
2
get it-
years, yeah.
Yeah, to 2 years, that's obviously, that'd be better, I mean, that's a,
Well, I mean, to hit the mark that you
Yeah,
talked
for
about up
23,
to
it
this
had to be. Yeah.
point, and if you're gonna get it in a cycle where, you know, then you're taking the box off the chassis, and, you know, then you could fall back on the 60 then, but right now, I think you're looking to do it on a 2-year cycle, or whatever, you're gonna do 120 a year. Because, I mean, after you get the vehicle and it's ready to go, you still gotta stock this thing with, not the expendable supplies, but the stretchers, the,
well, not really, because as one comes off, as we purchase one will come off, and it'll go to the road department. So it'll get stripped of its supplies, and then it'll just get restocked from that other ambulance. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we just paid for those power, we just got those paid for this year too,
Yeah.
the power tractors.
So we have,
We're replacing a vehicle, not adding
Not adding
new
a
vehicle.
right.
For service.
but
That's right.
at some point, where do you cycle out the equipment that completes the vehicle? I mean, how
So
long
we-
does it last? 5 years, 6 years?
No, so we just purchased the new monitors, like I said, a couple months ago. So eventually we'll have to purchase another one, but we have the capital outlay to do that, so that's not a problem. So those, how to word this right, the last monitors that we purchased were in, I believe, 2002 or 2003. They're not intended to last that long. We got a lot more years than we should have out of those cardiac monitors. But the ones that we just bought are literally brand new on the market, so they're top of the line. We were able to get a really good deal on top of the line. So hopefully we'll get a whole lot more years out of those. Hopefully, the idea would be 15. That's a few years over, like what hospitals do. But like I said, we were able to keep the last ones for almost 20 years, so that's really good. The stretchers, I really don't know what the life is. Jackson had them first, of course, and you know they've had theirs for probably at least 10 years, and I mean they're still functioning fine. Plus we have a maintenance agreement on them, so they come out yearly, check everything, test everything, swap out parts if it needs to be or whatever. The only thing that we have to routinely buy on them is batteries, just because they're, you know, just have to be replaced. But, outside of that, the rest of it, trying to think if there's anything, the Lucas, that's another piece of equipment, but again, it's in capital outlay to replace those as time goes on. and the rest of it's basically just soft goods, you know, bandages and things like that, and we're restocking that and using it nonstop, so.
We also got new AEDs,
That's right.
and then we actually got, 6 extra
Mhm.
AEDs. So
That's
now all of our sheriff's cars, our deputy cars on
That's
the
right.
road, every one of them now has an AED in the trunk.
Yeah, cause we're still
Huge.
trying, I mean, obviously Corolla had put a damper on it, but we're trying to get back now. I think we've got 911 next month. The idea is anytime, and we sold this, I don't know who was on the board at that time, but we try to get and make sure that all of our deputies, all of 911 are CPR certified. Cause they're out patrolling these zones, so anytime we have an unresponsive, dispatch actually sends it out over the radio, and that deputy, hopefully, now will have an AED, they know how to do CPR, they know how to do first aid. They'll get there and start CPR before we can ever get there, just because they're usually out, you know, patrolling and stuff, so we've, don't put me on this exact, but I think since we started this program about 4 or 5 years ago, we've had 4, 5, 6 come home, like, and that's unheard of. I mean, it is, our numbers of survivability of cardiac out of hospital cardiac arrest is really, really high compared to the national average. So we've done really good with that, and that's credit to the sheriff's office, really.
2 things I wanna elaborate on that. One is Bobby and them, the sheriff's office purchased their last AED, and they were almost $2,000 a piece, $1,800 a piece.
Yeah.
So this time, when we needed to purchase them, got with Josh and we said, okay, increase the amount of the numbers we wanna purchase, but we wanna purchase them at this price, and we ended up getting those things for $1,000 a piece. But we bought, was it 10 total? Then you get 4 they got, or we get 8 total?
We got 4.
Okay, and they got 6.
We were able to get, like, I ended up getting 4 of them give to us because the cardiac monitor guy, like, technically our monitors, the new ones, don't have AEDs built into them, and the state requires you to have an AED on each ambulance. We don't run BLS trucks, we have all ACLS trucks, so, it doesn't need one. You've got a paramedic there to be able to use it, so technically we got 4 AEDs for free, and then the sheriff's office, we ended up, I think we got 2 of them, and they got 4 or something, I don't remember how it worked, but we ended up getting about 10 total, and 4 of them were free, so.
And most of the fire departments got one on the truck too.
Yeah, that's correct, and plus, you know, we have, I'd have to ask now, it's been a minute since I looked at it, we've got them staggered throughout the entire county, the first
Red
responders.
departments got it.
Mhm.
Well, this building's got 'em.
Yeah,
Well, and I don't know if one of my colleagues over there got me thinking about it when you said the life cycle of some of the equipment on the truck. I guess what I'm trying to get my head around, how's the best way to look at it? For example, if you buy a new truck, you need equipment to go on it, that is, give me a second, because then if you do, you might have, you know, the new model AED, you might have the new model this, you might have it, and it might not be cohesive throughout the county, so if you have to ride another truck one day just because, you know, somebody called in sick,
that's right.
all of a sudden, oh, wait a minute, that's different.
Yeah.
Versus, we wanna bulk purchase
That's
these, you know, in gear, you know, in every, and I don't know if the life cycle on things, if we say
It's-
10 years,
Technically, it's about 8 years, I think
Okay.
is what they say.
I'm just trying to, sometimes you need to help educate us. on
No,
what
and
the
that's,
best way-
you're right, so all of our ambulances are standardized, so you can get on 1, or you can get on 8, or you can get on 3, and they're all gonna be the same. Like, the 2 new ones, their cabinets is a little bit different, but not enough to where you couldn't go to that same area and find whatever you need. And that's done just for that exact reason, like, you know, we have, like I said, we have, you know, 50 part-time employees that work for us. We have one that only works maybe once every couple of months. I mean, he's a good employee, and he comes to do his job, but I don't want him having to go and look for something. So we do standardize, all of our equipment's the same, so every monitor, if you get on a truck right now, it's gonna be the same monitor that every other truck has. The Lucas is the exact same way, the suctions, just so that we work in high-stress environments, so you do, I mean, it's repetitive. You want the same equipment there to where you're not having to try to figure out how to use something different, you know, that's, so everything we have is standardized.
I feel like sort of what we're struggling for is what kind of mechanism, or is there a mechanism we can establish so we know roughly how much this equipment we need to budget every year? Or is,
Okay.
what I'm hearing, it sounds like that when the technology upgrades, then there's gonna be a lump.
Mhm.
Up till then, we might not need it.
That's right.
A good example, and here again, in another world, on business, but, you know, our IT folks, it's every 3 years, the
Yeah.
computers are gonna be changed in that office,
Right,
because the technology's changing that rapidly.
right.
You know, and I know just a couple of weeks ago, we all sat in meetings where counties where the population is substantially greater than ours, the county is substantially smaller than ours, and much more developed. We heard stories of where there were 2-hour wait times for ambulances,
Mhm.
and where we have, I believe you mentioned 8 units.
No, we run 4, full-time. We have 8 total ambulances, basically backups is
Okay,
what we do.
well, we have 4,
Yeah,
and
and our average
examples, Henry
response,
County has 2.
right, our average response time is about, I think it's 8 minutes. And
8
that-
minutes.
Okay, we were hearing their commissioners talk about response times that were in excess of 2 hours.
Yes, sir. That
And
unfortunately
that's
is,
ridiculous.
that's private service. And I'm not talking bad, there's some good private services out there, but
No, this was the counties.
the counties,
Yeah, they have 2 units for a county with a population of 150,000.
that's
Well,
what,
like Newton County being one that had 2, or Morgan County,
yes.
but you had one in transport and then one on the route to the hospital, and by the time they made the round trip, it's like exactly what Dennis said. Now, I
will
did come
say
back and
this,
clear something up, they didn't tell us, and you told me this, so they know, because they was in that same guy, when they heard 2 ambulances for 100,000 people, he says, no, there's more ambulances than that, but they ain't but 2 that the county furnishes everybody else for contract.
Yeah, and I know that same service that y'all are talking about is the service that works in Athens.
Mhm.
So, and I will say, please don't report this back. Please don't report this. I'll talk openly with you guys. So, they have Athens, Oconee, Morgan, all those different counties. Obviously, Athens is their busiest county, right? So if Morgan, and I think this has changed now, but at the time when those calls that y'all are talking about where people died, is they would pull those trucks from Morgan County to come up either to Athens or to cover Conyers or to wherever, because guess what? They're short-staffed, just like everyone else in the state. So they were pulling trucks to cover other counties, or even running non-emergency stuff out of hospitals. That is not looking out for your citizens. I mean, that's not. So, I mean, that's, I think they've changed some things around since a couple of those calls happened that they kinda got, messed up on. But, I will say this, and again, this is not public knowledge. Oconee County is in the process of starting their own county-based service. They're tired of that company and they're not gonna do it anymore. They have no, I mean, they're tired of the waits.
And I know the Morgan County, cause I know the fire head guy and all
Yeah.
that, and what they did, and they'll tell you they made mistakes on putting that whole thing together
Yeah.
to start off with.
Yeah, and there's Clark County firemen that work or live all over this county. Just ask them
Yeah.
what they think about the service that they get.
My neighbor.
But
If they
unfortunately,
wasn't all paramedics, they would be in a pickle. Luckily, the firemen's
but
paramedics.
then that's what, I honestly,
That's what saved
that's
them.
what Clark County started doing, is because of their wait times with private services, they're starting to educate their guys up to EMTs and up to paramedics, just because, if not, you're gonna sit there for 45 minutes waiting on an ambulance to show up, and
That's what they're doing.
that's exactly what they're doing, it's,
They're running the call, when the first one's there, then the first responder, they're just not transporting.
that's right. And that's,
Yeah, and I don't know, and I think your feeling is, I mean, but, you know, we've got first responders, some of them, maybe not so many EMTs anymore, but we still got first responders
right.
that are, assisting, and sometimes they're there first, and
That's
at least
right.
they can do basic stuff.
That's right, yeah, and we, you know, we just, we had to shut everything down during Corona, you know, it was
Yeah.
just not safe for everybody.
I know, you kidding.
Now we're starting to kind of build that program back up and try to get them to, you know, to kind of start running calls again, and it's working, it's doing good. But that is an unfortunate part of the counties or whatever going private.
Well, Bobby, on the budget, prior to, the adoption of the budget, we'll go ahead and put that 120 in there change.
Okay.
But Terry's and Dennis, everybody's idea here at the table of, go back for the next couple of weeks, go back and look at their inventory and say, okay, well, we know that stretcher's 10, 10 years old, and we know that thing costs X dollars. Let's look at it from a big picture and see what we need to start allocating in this year
Okay.
for the equipment side of it, so we
So,
don't get in that picture.
Do we, are y'all wanting to do basically just, make sure I'm understanding it right, are you wanting to basically set it up so, or give me, for me to present to where, all right, let's say the stretcher life is, let's say it's 10 years, whatever they recommend, are you wanting to kind of plan that now to set it aside as
Correct.
capital outlay? Okay.
Here's what, sort of what I think we need in general, the counties, the dollars coming in the county are they're kind of level. So what we don't need
Yeah.
are big ones, so you might have to take a look, and I don't know what each of these individual items cost. So you got, 10 of this kind of machine, 10 of this kind of machine, whatever, but understand that the technology's gonna change.
Right.
We need some way, best we can, to have that capital outlay request be roughly the same every year.
Okay.
Well, every department, and it's not shit, I mean, it's every department, we need a life cycle replacement plan. I mean, for capital
Be
projects.
looking
capital
long term
equipment.
so you can accomplish that.
Yeah, I
Right.
mean, that's, now, can we fund it every year? I don't know, that's a different
Yeah.
discussion. And some years that we have maybe a little bit surplus, we might can stash a little more in the savings account for capital outlay.
Right.
And then some years that are leaner, you might have to make a decision not to. But like Terry's saying, if I know I gotta buy something in 5 or 6 years and I can put $2 away today and only have to come up with 8
Okay.
next time, I'm still a whole lot better off.
And you're really in a catbird seat because all your AEDs is new.
Yeah.
And all your monitors are new, so
Right.
you're already in a position where they're new today, and I can budget.
That's right.
To the point they
And
gotta be new.
fortunately, our stretchers are not, but just
Yeah.
3 or
So
4
we
years
have-
old, so we're actually in a really good spot to do that, but I can bring that back to y'all and get it,
You know, we just made a final payment,
and that was on the 3-year, was it 3-year?
I think it was a down payment in 3 years, yeah. And that was due for on the ambulance. I checked my other file.
So this payment that's showing here
It's
is
the second.
payment, the second payment.
2022 will be the second $60,000 toward purchase of an ambulance.
So
Yeah, that'll
and-
be, 22 will be the second payment, right?
22 will be
Okay.
the second, yes.
So the ambulance that you're shopping now for will be a SPOS payment?
Yeah, we'll use, I mean, we can either pull the 120 out of, this year's and next year's and or spend the rest out of SPOS, or how the chairman wants to do it, we can pull it out of SPOS.
Figure something out.
Yeah.
Here's a bigger challenge or a thought process challenge, has absolutely nothing to do with budget. But as we hear what's going on with the sheriffs, we hear what, the challenges with EMS staffing and that, all that kind of thing. Essentially what has happened with society, y'all are facing greater risk, different risk than you were 15 and 20 years ago. And so your challenges are different and they're not gonna get any easier. So it sounds like in general, your department now is, it's hard to say you're ahead of the game, but at least you're even with the game.
We are doing a whole lot better than other counties around us.
So-
I will say that. Now, as far as like the profession though, we're gonna EMS is gonna hit a wall.
Yeah, well, the challenge I throw out to you today is, think outside the box of how you might reorganize or think about doing things differently to allow you to be ready in the reality of your risks are greater. Your staffing challenges are not something that's gonna go away. How do I need to begin thinking about operating so that I'm ahead of that curve?
Right, so, and, I mean.
Rather
I'll-
than just staying stuck in right where we
No,
are.
and we are,
everybody
so
else.
we have a group we've been meeting, actually, the chairman went with us, a group of directors and leadership from basically now to the point it's all over the state. Because we're all facing the exact same problem. So we're actually working with some of the legislators, Rob Leverett and some other guys that they pulled in to try to get some of this ahead of this game, basically, and try to figure out what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
And it's gonna have to go to the state level. At some point, the Office of EMS is gonna have to kind of help us and back us and figure out, because there's nothing that we can do locally to push this to help that staffing shortage. You know, you'd love to encourage people to go to EMT school, and we do, but it's just, there are just not as many people going to EMT and paramedic school. It's just like not as many people are going into law enforcement.
Yeah.
It's
And,
just,
and part of what complicates what y'all are dealing with is what the changes that have occurred in the hospital end of it.
that's
Because
right.
that is a whole, just from 5 years ago,
Yes.
their mechanism for operating is, I mean, you talk about 24 and 26 hour wait times in the emergency room to get a room, because their policy now is every bed is gonna be full. And it's a different world. And in order to serve the citizens like we would like to do, we just gonna have to think outside the box.
That's right, and unfortunately, you know, 5 years ago, there was, Northeast Georgia in Gainesville was one of the only hospitals that were hiring paramedics, you know. And like I said, it's not a bad thing, it's good, but the problem is, every hospital now is hiring paramedics, because guess what? Pay them less than what, you know, a 40-year.
The nurse.
Yeah, but you're getting basically a nurse that, you know, can function almost identical to what, you know, a nurse can do or whatever, so that's becoming a challenge, because people are leaving EMS. Like, I have a good friend of mine, actually, too, that they work in Hart County, been there 20-25 years, and left to go take a job at a hospital. And it's like,
Yeah.
and make more money too, so that's significant, that's a big hit, you know, when people like that are leaving the profession and going to a hospital and making more money after 20-25 years, that's hard for county government to compete.
So, safety standpoint, and I've seen this in other counties, and I don't wanna go here unless recommended to go here, and that's body cams. And I'm hearing what Michael's saying about having potentially an access of older cameras. Is it something you see we might need to dip into, or do you wanna stay away from it?
I do wanna stay away from it, and
To me, there's a liability
there's a
aspect.
huge liability into it, and the thing is, our new monitors, they're, golly, they're really neat and really cool. Whereas our old ones stored the data and stored basically our vitals and events and what was going on with the patient in that monitor. These new ones stored in the cloud, so I can access it. Once they go on the truck, I'll access it. I mean, I can access it and look at it real time if I wanted to. So, or at any time after that. There is some of the private services that put cameras in there, but I don't like it. I'd much rather, you know, we have to trust our employees. We do ridiculous amounts of training, you know.
I wouldn't mean it from that side. You
Yeah.
take larger cities and they combat drunks and they get assaulted and this, that, and
Yeah.
the other, and that's why they have the
And
cameras for
the
that
thing
aspect.
is like, with situations like that, normally it's pretty rare that we go out somewhere and get blindsided by somebody wanting to fight us or something. Most of the time, when we get there, law enforcement's already there. We already know, we have a pretty good idea. Dispatch does a really good job of not letting us go in until law enforcement gets there. And then they have body cams, you know, so it just, I don't know, I'm not a proponent of it, but, you know, that may change in time, eventually, but there's just, with that, it's a medical record at that point, you're gonna have to store it for 10 years. So not only is it,
And it's very private.
The retention is
it's
expensive.
very private, and if it gets out, then
I think that it's better managed, like you say, with law enforcement, because if it's a situation that is unsafe for the EMTs, law
We're leaving.
enforcement's, you're not gonna
We're not even
get
going in,
there,
we're gonna
you're
leave.
not going in until law enforcement says it's clear, and
That's
that's
right.
always been the way.
That's
I mean, that's the way it's been with the firemen, because
That's
they're
right.
volunteers. If it's unsafe, They don't go in until
That's right.
it's clear.
And if we get there and if we walk up,
Yeah.
and when they start going crazy, my guys know, get your butt
Yeah.
out of there. Our number one job.
That's
I mean,
the same thing they do in the
honestly,
Army.
the first thing they teach you when you start EMT
Yeah.
school is, you are first, you are number one. So if it's not safe for you,
That's what,
get out.
that's what the Atlanta Fire Department.
That's right, yeah.
I've been on the truck, that's what Atlanta Fire Department will do.
Exactly.
They'll say, we ain't going in there until
Nope.
the scene is clear.
All right, was there anything under EMA?
Not really.
We need to be aware of?
I think we changed this last year. Yeah, no, education and training was the only thing that I think we got changed last year. And the text notification system, that wasn't on mine until, I don't know, I mean, it doesn't matter, you can put it wherever you want to, but I think that's always been under 911, hasn't it?
I think so. I don't know if Kathy will.
It was previously,
And like I said,
it
it's,
switched over because the notification system is basically for the fire trucks.
okay.
Which works good.
Yeah,
That system does.
yeah, yeah, I heard good things.
Depends on who you ask.
Well, yeah.
Well, no, if you got a cell phone, it works really good. I
Yeah.
mean, it's, the notifications on the cell phone, which is,
The only complaint that I've heard about the e-dispatch is, it's just when it's something very severe and they're paging multiple departments,
and it
it'll
gets-
cut it off.
and it gets cut off.
Yeah, that's the, but I don't know that there's anything we can do to fix that, that's
And
just,
some of the 911 operators need to be a little clearer on the speaking,
yeah.
but, hey.
You're lucky we even got them.
I was gonna say, it's hard to fuss at them,
They said smoke
we can't
signals.
keep them, so.
And I wanna say this while Bobby's here too, that as we've been talking here about, EMS and trouble with the sheriff's department getting employees, it's the same thing with the fire department getting volunteers.
Yeah, it really,
That, at some point, that's gonna be a big issue for the commission, cause when the fire departments don't have manpower, because they can't get volunteers,
and that's,
that,
That's
it's a
gotten
big
bad,
issue.
and I
You
know.
see, we got ads, it's putting ads, fire department's putting ads in there for volunteers, and they get, nobody's responding to those. We never used to have to put ads back years ago. I mean, we have a steady influx of young folks. They get to join the fireman's pension fund and stuff like that. They don't even entice them now.
Society's changed, there's no doubt
That's
about
right,
it.
and so I'm just saying, not to add, but just thinking future-wise, it's all gonna have to be sort of combined into a structure as far as public safety goes.
well, and that,
Firemen gonna have to be toting guns.
you'll.
Well, no, I don't think firemen have to be covered, yeah, I mean, but what I'm saying is, just to cover the fire service, I mean, that's one reason, like Morgan County did what they did,
Yeah.
because they got into the situation.
Yeah, that's why people look at privatization, because they feel like, what,
Yeah,
can't do it.
yeah, and so it's just one of those things that we're gonna have to address at some point, whether in the next
And it's
few
not,
years.
it's not just that you guys can't get them anymore, it's everybody that's still doing it is just getting older,
There's no new generation.
There's not.
It's just
It's just
not.
not.
Bobby, I'll tell you the same as I told Michael now, 2021 was a pleasure working with you.
Thank y'all.
Your guys done a great job, and girls. I've probably been over 25, 40 times, whatever, something like that. And I always get my answer, no matter what it is. And/or they always try their best to get me an answer to what it is. And I want to tell you, thank you. You've done a good job on your budget.
Thank y'all.
From the board's perspective, I couldn't be more happy. 2022 is just as good.
Well, thank y'all, y'all are a pleasure to work with, work for. Thank
Who would
you.
have ever dreamed that was order would come out, right?
It's not bad at all. Thank you. Anything else?
They haven't come up with it.
Thanks, buddy.
Have a good afternoon.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, so we have a small break, right?
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. I'm gonna take my blood pressure.
All right.
I just wanna let everybody know the video is still recording.
All right, that means the audio is also.
Yes.
All of them individually. A lot of times they have somebody that they're required.
So Michael Bobby Bode has come to the opinion of money's just not gonna work. It's really not about money. Banks County right now is paying $4 more than we're paying, and they still can't do it. Any retention, and they can't get new hires. It's really out of the money's hands. It's more down to just people. And I think the national media's got them scared to death. If you watch these trials, man makes $45,000 a year as a police officer. He gets in a bad situation,